In this lesson, I'll show you 4 really common unhealthy relationship dynamics that you probably have never heard about, but will most definitely kill your relationships. And stick around to the end of the video because I'll show you how to heal these dynamics and turn the future of your relationships around. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Amy and I help women to heal their insecure attachment so they can attract a partner and a relationship that's truly worthy of them. And if you want more content like this, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified because I'm posting new lessons like this every week. Now, before I get started, I want to let you know that a few places have opened up on my calendar for the free strategy session for the Love by Design program. If you want to know more about how to apply for that, stick around till the end of the video. So the first dynamic is called the 2 egos. This is where 2 egos are in relationship with each other, not people, but their egos. And there is an expectation of ego-based, representation of what the relationship should look like onto each other. And there's little to no seeing of the actual person underneath that ego because the ego acts like a barrier or a wall. It really keeps the people separate. And at a deeper level, this is actually a safety mechanism we learned from childhood. It keeps us from being hurt. If we can't be truly known for who we are, we can't be truly deeply hurt at that level. And the dynamic of it is that we're always projecting conflict and faults. So we're also never taking responsibility in a dynamic like this. So the deeper wound at play here is feeling deeply insecure of yourself. You or your partner might think there's something deeply broken about you, and it's your partner's responsibility to keep you safe, or your partner believes that you should keep them safe all the time. Other signs that you're in a dynamic like this is a feeling that you don't truly know your partner or that they don't truly know you. You might have a sense of mistrust in them because of that, or they don't trust you. And that there's any kind of expectation that your partner exists or the relationship exists for your own happiness, for your own purpose, or you feel like a bit of a trophy partner that you're existing for your partner's happiness. The second unhealthy relationship dynamic is the fantasy pedestal. This is where one or both of you are in relationship to worship or idolize the other person. And this is actually another form of ego projection because in idolizing that person, you're filtering what you see about them, and that filter itself is your ego attaching to and dismissing other aspects of your partner. And what often happens in a dynamic like this is it reverses really quickly because when you do see their flaws, the flaws become so apparent, you then focus on fixing your partner. You end up being in a project relationship. So you might get fixated on fixing them or coaching them or healing them. Again, getting attached to the best in them while you're doing that, you see their potential and that really drives you to fix the other parts of them that aren't so great. And you're doing all of this while denying your own needs, right? They're on the pedestal. Your needs aren't nearly as important as theirs because they're broken in this other way, but they've got so much potential. You're completely denying your own importance and experience to be having your needs met in the container of the relationship. And this is actually a comfortable dynamic for you at a deep level because you don't deeply feel worthy of healthy love. So you don't have to address any of your own internal love blocks around it because within this dynamic, you're constantly just focused on the other partner and it keeps your low self-worth mechanism in play. Now, this is originally an attachment mechanism from childhood. If we had an insecure attachment, we had to place our parents and our caregivers on pedestals. Even though we could see their faults, we literally became blindsided to them in order to feel a sense that the people that were primarily responsible for us were wonderful people. We could maintain our own sense of safety, and our internal structure in our world as a child felt secure to us, even though it was false and fantasy driven. The third unhealthy relationship dynamic is called the outer shell. This is where the relationship container that you've both created together is actually hollow. It looks good on the outside, but on the inside it's hollow. It lacks connection. There's no couple bubble. There's no true bond formed or depth of knowing or understanding of each other. The relationship is for looks or for show only, but it lacks that substance. And because there's a lack of that foundation and connection, it means that you don't have that friendship to fall back on. So when there's conflict, you're walking on eggshells. There's a lot of passive aggression here. Because if we don't have friendship and a bond and that bubble to fall back on, we don't ever feel safe in the relationship container. And there's a poor communication climate here, right? There's been transgressions that haven't been addressed and there's no communication around it to maintain that bond, which means there's resentment that's been built, and that resentment creates even more space. Now, because you're so focused on maintaining the outer shell, in order to do that, you have to quite significantly disconnect from your true needs and your true feelings around the relationship. Or you might even be trying to convince yourself that your needs are actually being met, or that you don't have any needs. The fourth unhealthy relationship dynamic is called the runaway freight train. This is where one or both parties are caught up in their own sabotages, and they are just fulfilling these patterns and sabotaging the relationship, and they feel out of control around it. So sabotages might be ways that you've previously always unhinged a relationship and really ruined connection, and the same for your partner. And you might have some level of awareness around it, but it's a runaway freight train, right? You can see it, but you just can't stop it from happening. You've got no idea how to change it. So for example, you might have a pattern of always getting fixated on your partner's flaws and just getting really honed in on what they're doing wrong. That's your filter, and that really degrades connection because you're constantly bringing up all of their flaws and their problems. They're not feeling worthy enough. That's breaking down your connection. Or another pattern might be that you never feel worthy enough in relationships. And because you're super sensitive to any kind of their feedback, you tend to overreact when there is an issue or a problem. Because that's touching in on that core wound of not feeling good enough, you become super reactive, and that degrades the connection between you and your partner. The runaway freight train is when we're doing a pattern that we've done time and time again. And it could be any kind of a pattern that really breaks down communication and breaks down a relationship. You observe your relationships that you literally have the same relationship again and again in your life, just with a different partner. Now, comment below if you have observed any of these patterns playing out in your relationships in the past, or whether they're playing out in a current relationship. I'd love to hear from you. So there are 3 ways to go about healing these dynamics and healing these patterns. And as you know, if you watch any of my content on this channel, you'll know that I'm a big believer in taking personal responsibility. So I'm going to teach you these 3 aspects from the place that you can heal these patterns yourself and get out of this dynamic. Because if one person steps away from the pattern, there's not the momentum for that other partner to keep on going, because you're not playing into it anymore. The first way to heal any of these dynamics is to really know yourself. Knowledge of self is absolute gold in terms of currency when you're trying to step out of patterns like this. So become aware of your habits and your patterns that have historically contributed to any kind of breakdown in communication and connection in your relationships. And from those habits and patterns, identify the stories that you tell yourself around them about who you are or about who your partner is. And these are stories that might be compounding your lack of self-esteem or your lack of worth, or they might be compounding the belief that you're not worthy of love. And then in the relationship container, you need to be very vigilant of your self-talk. Any kind of internal limiting talk that is literally reenacting any of the patterns and dynamics that I've gone through in this lesson, that are connected to your core wounds around not being worthy of love, being broken, or any kind of core abandonment fear. The second thing you need to do is learn how to become a relationship scientist. Because all of these internal stories that come up from our core wounds are fiction, right? But what is actual fact? What is the cold data that you have? What was said? What happened? What was your actual experience and feeling? Not the story or the meaning that you created. That is fiction. It's real because you understand it and you feel it. I get that. But we actually want to look at the relationship from a bird's eye view and take our emotion out of it so that we can analyze the data and come at it with a fresh perspective. And we need to collect that data on our partner as well, rather than connecting the dots and jumping to conclusions about what they were trying to do to us. Because again, that's another story that's coming from our core wounding. And like I said, in this scientist mindset, you're separating out your emotions and the limiting stories from the actual situation, from what actually happened, from what your partner intended it. Collect all the data so you can look at it from a bird's eye view. And then the third aspect of healing all of these dynamics is communication and safety. From a place where you know yourself and you've become a relationship scientist, then communicate around that and maintain a sense of internal safety while you're doing it. So when in doubt, communicate it out. And know that communication or over communication is not needy at all. It's a true skill that you've got to have in order to have a healthy, committed, conscious relationship. And the safety piece is not trying to keep your partner safe. It's maintaining your own sense of safety inside, learning self-soothing. Because having conversations around these limiting patterns and things around that are inherently uncomfortable. So we want to maintain a sense of safety for ourselves. We also, of course, want to act and communicate with respect and with grace to our partner as well. But they also need to learn how to keep themselves safe as well, because uncomfortable communication is going to happen when we're breaking out of these kinds of cycles. You know, any kind of pattern in your life is going to be broken by stepping out of your comfort zone, which is very different from internal safety. So being outside of your comfort zone in order to learn something new about your partner, to learn about a different way that you can approach things together as a couple in order to break out of any of these cycles. So in this video, I've run down the 4 really common unhealthy relationship dynamics, and I've given you kind of the beginner steps to start working together as a team and internally with yourself to kind of unhinge those cycles. But if you want to know the exact 3-step process to creating a secure relationship within yourself and with your partner, I want you to join me in my free training below. The link is in the description. And if you want to know more about the core wounds and the patterns that appear as your inner child archetype, I have a free quiz on that below so that you can really begin your healing process from an authentic place. And I have a free Facebook group as well. You can join in the link in the description. And if you'd like to apply for the free one-to-one call with me for the Love by Design program, you can apply for that in my calendar link below. And please comment below if this video was helpful for you. I'd love to hear from you. And if it was, also like this video. That will help this channel out a lot. And click the subscribe button so that you get notified when I post new videos and new lessons on this content every week. And in the meantime, here are some next step videos for you to watch to help you move one step closer to having an incredibly secure relationship with yourself and with a partner that you truly deserve. And for now, I'll see you in the next video.